Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video tutorial by Kevin Harper. This one is going to be a follow along for a Maxscript that helps us make objects appear and disappear. As you'll notice that this is a little like screen blast or animatic that we do to plan out particular scenes for the directors and stuff like that. So as you'll notice that once we wipe past this pot, like the turkey appears out of nowhere and so on and so forth. Now there are many ways to handle such an action. Of course, you can animate the position of the object by just having it, let's say at frame 5 it's there, and then at frame 6 it's out of the screen or whatever, out of the camera view. So if we're looking at it, obviously it looks like it's appearing and reappearing. Now this can cause a lot of problems when you have things that already have keyframes, and then you kind of have to make sure that the keyframes are stepped instead of smooth, because you don't want the object to be floating around, and it can get really annoying. Also, it's a little annoying to move several objects. So one way to get rid of objects within a scene for whatever purpose you need to is of course the visibility track, right, as you know. So we can go in here, and what it takes to set this up, a visibility track, is you select your object, then you go up here to you go up here to edit, visibility track, add, right? So now it has added a visibility track. Then you can add a key, and you can say, alright, add 5, the object's visibility is at 1, right? So now it's set a key at 5. Now we can say at 6, the object visibility is at 0. So now we have the exact same result, but we don't have to worry about it jumping around, right? And it doesn't get as messy. The problem now is that this obviously took quite a bit to set up. So if you have multiple scenes, and you have multiple scenes, you have multiple objects that need to animate on and off throughout your scene, then you might want to come up with a better workflow, right? So one thing you can do, and the benefits of knowing a little bit of Maxscript, you don't have to be good at it, but just knowing a little bit of Maxscript, you can make a little window like this that just has an on and off button, and then you can say at 15 I want this to be animated back on. Now obviously these curves are not as we would like for them to be. We can have this linear Bezier, whatever you call it, linear controller. But so at 5 it turns off now, at 15 it comes back on, and now at 25 we want this to turn back off, and so on and so forth. So we can really go in here and very easily at any point in time turn it on and off. So it'll make it a lot easier for us to get this work done a lot faster. So one of the benefits about something like this is that we can then take not just one box, but we can have 20, 30 boxes, whatever you want, and then we can have we can add a track to all of them, and then we can say, at 0 they're on, at 5 they turn off, at 10 they're on, and at 15 they're off. Now I have to set this to linear curve, but you get the idea, is that we can now very easily animate the visibility of an object. Now let's set one of these scripts up, and I'll walk you through it. Alright, so I've reset the scene, so we can get started on this together. Now I'm going to be skipping explanations of terminology and kind of what things do, just because I've already done a tutorial series on like the very basics of Maxscript. So I'm assuming you have done that tutorial series to continue on with this one just for fun. Okay, so we're going to start off very simply by first making a box that we're going to be using as our test subject. Right, so we'll zero that out real nice. And then of course we're going to pull up our listener so that we actually know what we're doing, so we can see what's going on. And we're also going to pull up our Maxscript window so that we can actually write the script. So I'm going to save the script as tutorials visibility. Alright, so now the first thing we want to do is first we want to create this rollout, right? Because we want these buttons. We want 3 buttons. The first button, we want to be able to add a track to our objects. The second button, we want to be able to animate our object on, and the third button we want to be able to animate our object off. So let's get started with the rollout. I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to say New Rollout, and this is going to be our window. So we're going to say let's first name our rollout, you know, Animate visibility, caption. Oh, actually the name, and then the caption would be Animate. Okay, so with that said, we're going to create our first button, and we're going to name this button add track button, and the caption is going to be add track. And then we're going to say that this is an event button, so when pressed something's supposed to happen. Now we could already kind of go in here and just tell it what we want it to happen, but we're going to do this in here altogether, just so we don't get lost. Then our second button, we're going to say this is our on BTN, and its caption is just on. And then our third button, now we can just grab this if we want, copy and paste it, and drag it down. You can also turn on this grid thing if you want things to be nice and neat and aligned and stuff like that. You can also use tools like the layout allows you to align things with each other, as well as get some even spaces and make them same size and so on and so forth, you know, if you want this to be nice and neat, but for this purpose this is not necessary. Okay, so this is the off button, so we're going to say off BTN, and the caption will be off. So good, we'll save this, right, and it will give us it has created the rollout for us, and it has created one event for the buttons, but it hasn't created the other events because I forgot to tell this button to have a pressed event and this button to have a pressed event, right? So now we'll save it, and it has created events for all 3 of the buttons. So now, just to test it out, on the bottom we're going to say create dialog anyvis, right? We'll save that, we'll hit Control E, and here we have our nice little rollout that has 3 buttons, but they don't do anything right now, right? So the first button, we obviously will want this to be the button that adds the track, because if we look at the curve editor right now, we see that the object that we have selected, the box, does not currently have a visibility track, right? So, but we don't just want to add the track to this particular object, we want to add a track to as many objects as we have selected. So we're going to create a for loop, which you remember from the previous tutorials what that does, right? So my array is the variable that we're going to store our array of a selection in, equals selection as array, just to make sure that it is an array of objects. Ooh, I'm in the off button. Oh, look at that. Okay, cut, and we'll put that into the add track. Okay, so now we'll create a for loop with this array. We're going to say for I in my array, do the following. Now if you don't know what's going on, please go back to the please go back to the beginner's Maxscript tutorial that I did, because we'll start from scratch. We start from scratch there, assuming that you know absolutely nothing about Maxscript. So let's continue here. So we have this this loop that we're going to have going on, and now we say in here we're going to say I dot visibility equals I.visibility equals linear float. Oops, underscore float. So now, just to make sure that this is all fine and dandy, we're going to test this out. So first we'll save the script, and then we'll run the script. And now we'll add track, and as you can see, box 01 has added a visibility track, and if we select this visibility track, we can see that currently it is by default set to -1, so it is below visible. I guess just to make sure, we could add a key on the beginning to say that, oh, we want this to be at 1 by default, but we'll just leave it as it is right now. So first things first, we're going to remove the visibility track, and we're going to close this. So next, in our on event, for our on button, what we want to do is again make the same sort of selection array so that we can run a loop throughout the whole array, so we can run the script even if we have multiple objects selected instead of one. So my array equals selection as array for I in my array, do the following, right? Yeah, so what we're going to do in here is pretty straightforward. First, we're going to determine what time we're on. Okay, so we need to say, okay, current time, current frame equals slider time, because we want to make sure that we are adding the key for to our visibility track at the correct moment, right? So now let's add a new key. We're going to say new key equals add new key. So the new key is the variable, right? And the add new key is a function, or like a macro script, I guess. I dot visibility dot controller slider time select. So here we're telling it which controller we want to add the new key to, as well as this is the controller we want to add the new key to, as well as when we want to add the new key. Now you might ask yourself, why did we define this current frame if we can just use the function current frame, slider time in here? Well, we're going to use this maybe 2 lines later for when we set a key just before our last, to make sure that it's not a ramp, to make sure that it's a stepped key, right? So we're going to set 2 keys for every time that we set 1, if that makes sense. So we're going to say new key, because right now we've set this new key, we've created this new key, but we haven't specified any value for it. We haven't told it what we want it to do, what we want it to be. So we're just going to say new key dot value equals 1, right? So let's just test that out as is. Let's see if we have any errors, any problems. So I'm going to run the script. Number 1, we're going to add a track. It added the track with -0, right? Excuse me. Now let's go to frame 5, and I'm clicking on, and you can see it has now added a key to frame 5 to set the visibility to on. So now we can see that the box is always on, right? So it has set this key right there. Now, of course, it's not much of an animation, because we're just telling it to be on. We're not telling it to be off beforehand, or whatever the case may be. So what we want to do is we want to determine what the frame is before the frame that we just set the key, and then we want to set a key there that is the opposite of what we have set the key before. Yeah, so we're going to say we're going to create a variable for the last key. So for the last frame. So we're just going to say last f for last frame equals slider time -1. Now this might spit out an error. Let's see if it does. First we're going to close this, and then we're going to get rid of the visibility track just so everything's clean. So let's see what happens if we do this. Actually, it might not yet, but let's see what happens if we actually try to go through with this. So we're going to say new late key equals, which is a new variable we've created for the key that we're going to create just before the current key, equals add new key i.visibility.controller last f. So that is the last last f is of course the frame before that, which we determined here, right? So in the next line we're just going to say that the new key, or the new late key dot value, is equal to 0, right? So now that that's done, let's try to run that. We're going to hit add visibility track, which worked fine. It added the visibility track. Now we're going to say on, and you see that we now got a Maxscript error. Call needs function or class got 4f. Now, alright, so we got this error. We're determining here what the slider time is. It complains about this line here. So I'm assuming it's complaining about the fact that we have this particular function that is doing something, and we're trying to subtract from it at the same time. I guess. So what we're going to do is we're just going to determine that last frame is slider time. Excuse me. And then we're going to say last frame minus equals last frame minus 1. So let's test that out. If it doesn't work, we'll have to add an F after it, but I think this should work because now we're not calling the function and then subtracting from the function at the same time. But let's give it a shot. So we'll add the track and then we'll click on and at 25 we have 2 keyframes now. We have one at our current frame, and it's set 1 keyframe just before this with a value of 0. So now there's an animation of it being off before and on during or at, right? So now all we have to do is take this particular script that does exactly what we wanted to, copy it, copy this entire for loop, paste it into the off button, and now all we have to do is reverse these values. So we're going to say this is 0, this is still fine because we're still going 1 frame beforehand, but this value is 1, right? We save this. Let me get rid of this box. Alright, so now we can grab a box, we can open this box up, we can just now run the script, and we can add the visibility track. So now the box is invisible. We can say at 0 it's on, at 10 it's off, and at 40 it's on, and then we can, now it's adding it as non-linear for some reason, so we'll have to tell it, you know, be nice, be linear. But yeah, we could fix that too, but I mean, you get the idea, right? So now now it is on at 0, then it turns off at 10, then it turns on at 40, right? So now we could really go in there and we could have, you know, a long scene with a bunch of objects, and we could just, we don't have to constantly go into the curve editor. We can just have this open, and then we could really animate the visibility in a very easy way. Oops, what am I animating there? Okay, so add a visibility track. At 25 it's on, so now it's off till 25, on, 40 it's off. So that'll make our life easy, right? Alright, I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Check out my other videos if you're interested. And I welcome comments and suggestions in the comment section of the video. Have a nice day. Bye.